Welcome, Marvel Future Fighters. Today we're looking at Namor in Alliance Battle Extreme as a villain, supervillain, combat. For those of you that ask me why I don't equip certain uniforms, this is why. If I equipped Red Hulk's uniform, I never use him, but I do use him for this day. So I would have to constantly be re-equipping it and unequipping it. Same thing goes for Hulk. I don't really use him for anything. That sort of tells you what state the character is in, that his uniform from this year is so bad that I still don't use him for anything. So I just keep this World War Hulk uniform on because it's his supervillain uniform along with Maestro, and I use him for ABX. Now, normally this would be the team up that I use for Molten Man, and additionally before it wouldn't be the team up that I use for Minerva. But anyways, this is the team up now for Namor. So we're first going to be looking at how much he completely crushes. I'm talking completely decimates ABX, the crazy amount of damage that he does with all of his skills, and the tier 3 skill once we get around to it. And then, here we go. Oh yeah, rack up those points, buddy, or rack them up. And you can see that those all defense down and all of the effects that he has on his tier 3 skill that don't apply to world bosses, they do apply to, I mean, they apply in Shadowland, but they also apply in ABX. So you basically get the benefit of all of that, in addition to the absolutely absurd damage that he deals. And he's going to apply it here. All speed down, all defense down, and all resistance down. The all resistance down is actually really important, and I want to point that out for a couple of reasons. So for one, it's important because in game modes where Namor's all resist down actually applies, in any co-op game mode where it applies, it's extremely good for when you bring along another elemental damage dealing character like Jean Grey, or like, you know, any of the other Phoenix 5, someone like Luna Snow, even Cyclops. Okay, any sort of tier 3 that deals elemental damage will benefit from having Namor on the team. Namor also has a buff on his 5th skill that allows him to give the whole team additional buff. So that's really important. But the second thing I want to point out is that this all resist down was on his tier 3 skill from the beginning, i.e. from when the character was introduced, which means when they designed Namor, when Netmarble designed Namor, they already knew that one update later they were going to be giving him a Phoenix 5 uniform, because he doesn't normally deal any elemental damage. So why would you give him elemental all resist down? If you want him to be a support tier 3, which is possible because his 5th skill has that, you know, great support, all attack, all defense, all speed buff, but then that resistance down doesn't apply in any of the current co-op game modes. It doesn't apply in the Danger Room, I believe. It might apply in the Danger Room. I don't think it does, though. I don't think any debuffs apply in the Danger Room, and the debuff certainly doesn't apply in Giant Boss Raid, which is where Namor's other buffs do apply. So we already crushed 3.5 million in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is absolutely bananas. Namor is just a beast of a man, and he's going to shift the landscape of ABX quite a bit, because now for the week, you really only have 1 day's score, which is non-cappable, which is the only day that is really going to be in heavy contention for, you know, top scores. So, you know, we had that whole issue earlier in the year where the cap for the score was 2 million. And Netmarble was like, oh, we don't know what to do. There's too many players that are hitting the cap. So they raised the cap to 3.5 million. Well, guess what, Netmarble? We're right back where we started. We're almost there. We're almost to the point where people are going to be getting identical scores again, less than a year later. So clearly your idea of raising the cap was a terrible idea. It was a lazy idea. It was a patchwork idea. It was putting a band-aid on a car that has 1,000 scratches and dings and has parts falling off and windows cracked and smashed and tires slashed. And you just put a little band-aid over the windshield and said, okay, it's done. You guys need to do a complete top to bottom, A to Z rework of this game mode, Alliance Battle and Alliance Battle Extreme. Not only do you need to rework the actual game mode so that it's more interesting, it's more challenging, and it's more fun, but you also need a heavy rework on the rewards so that players actually are incentivized to push for the top scores. You cannot keep relying only on players' innate motivation their inner motivation to be better than other players. You cannot only rely on that. You have to give us some rewards. There should be much better rewards for being in the top 16. There should be much better rewards for hitting the cap score every single day. It's absolutely embarrassing that you guys have let this game mode rot for 3+ years. But that's not the only thing I wanted to talk about. So we clearly opened and closed the door on Namor being an absolute monster for ABX. He's going to be able to cap on the combat villain day easily. I mean, even with a CTP of energy, I have confirmation from someone in my alliance that he can cap with a CTP of energy, and that person does not have insane cards. So for all you crybabies out there complaining that Cynicalex, this is only possible with the CTP of rage. No, it's possible with the CTP of energy. You just need to be better at the game. You're probably just not that good. Secondly, he's going to cap for sure on Combat Hero Day as well. He's already very close to the cap on Combat Hero Day with a CTP of energy, and of course with a CTP of rage, it's no question. But the real topic that I want to discuss now for the remainder of the video is this extreme bias towards fire damage characters. And this newest update has really accelerated that flame and really, you know, poured gasoline on it. But this has been something that Netmarble has shown. This is a bias they've shown for years now. So on the one hand, you can say that Marvel, the people writing the comics, they tend to have a bias for fire damage characters and characters that have flame type abilities. That's absolutely true. There is an innate bias in Marvel, but Netmarble could be doing a lot more to mitigate that bias. They could be doing more to mitigate that bias by introducing more characters that have other types of damage, and they've done a decent job lately with certain damage types, introducing characters like Electro for lightning, introducing characters like Iceman for cold, sure, but they're still way behind fire, in addition to the fact that they've completely ignored certain types like poison. Mind damage they've done quite a bit lately with characters like Kid Omega. They've really worked on that. But characters like Hela, for example, she could easily have poison damage related to the death stuff that, you know, she's known for as the Queen of the Dead, and that could be one way of boosting up poison damage. You have got Green Goblin, you have Kraven. There's tons of characters that could deal poison damage that don't. They basically completely ignore poison damage. So if you compare the two, if you put them side by side, it's an absolute joke. Okay, so let's take a look at what exactly I'm talking about. How many fire damage leaderships are currently in the game? So we've got Satana at 70%. We've got Red Hulk at 60% fire damage. Satana gets 70 with the uniform. You got Ghost Panther with the fire damage crit rate buff, and then you've got Human Torch with the fire damage buff as well. So I think I've hit all 4 of the fire damage leaderships that specifically buff fire damage characters and fire damage attacks. Then we look at how many fire. By the way, there's no poison damage leadership. There's 0, and there's 1 cold damage leadership, and there's 1 lightning, 1.5 lightning damage leaderships. There's Lincoln and Iron Hammer, and now with Kid Omega, there's 1 mind damage leadership. So whoop-de-doo, poison is still at the bottom of the barrel. As far as fire damage passives, team passives, we of course have Ghost Panther with the Avenging Fire passive. We've never seen this passive before, increasing everyone's elemental damage. Specifically, Ancient One has a tier 2 buff that applies to all elemental damage, but this is a specific element. So as far as buffing any other specific element, there is no other character in the game that buffs your lightning damage for everybody, that buffs your cold damage, that buffs your mind damage, that buffs your poison damage. I believe Storm has something kind of similar with her passive, but it's not a damage buff, it's actually a immunity. So applies to, oh, actually she does. She increases lightning damage by 12%, and she gives a 50% damage to your unit. So that's not bad. We have 2 characters in the game. Sorry, I did forget about Storm's 12%. I think they added that with the new uniform. I'm not exactly sure. Let me just quickly double check. I think it only, nope, it was always there. Never mind. I'm just not a huge Storm fan. Apologies to Head Champ 85. And then here's the crazy part. Here's the part that screams bias. How many fire damage characters do you think there are in the game? Chuck, would you welcome a guess as to how many fire damage characters there are in Marvel Future Fight? I don't know, Bill. Maybe 10, maybe 15? You're not even close, Chuck. It's 22. 22? That's right. More than 10% of all characters in Marvel Future Fight deal fire damage. Okay, but doesn't that include, like, Green Goblin's uniform? Yes, Chuck, but that uniform was created in 2016. They've been doing this for 4 years, Chuck. Oh my God, Bill. So yeah, that's basically flabbergasting. Is it flabbergasting? I'm flabbergasted. Anyways, more than 10% of characters in Marvel Future Fight deal fire damage on at least one of their skills. Now, I am being a little bit of a technical a-hole because you've got characters like Crystal with 1 fire damage attack on the list. Yes, I know, but still, how many poison damage characters are there in Marvel Future Fight? Like 3. There's Lizard, Green Goblin. I think that's it, actually. I think it's honestly actually just 2. Yeah. Oh, Angel. Angel deals poison damage. Oh, you know what? Hulk. Hulk with his Maestro uniform deals poison damage on the passive effect of the uniform. Oh, bro! I totally forgot about how amazing this poison damage is for a character that doesn't even... Why does he deal poison damage? Did you guys even read? Did you guys even read this comic run? He doesn't deal poison damage. He's just a big spaz. But yeah, so obviously there's a huge bias towards fire damage. The latest update has made that even more obvious. You know, they added Rachel Summers as a new character who has fire damage on 2 of her skills. Okay, so she's got the Phoenix thing, sure. And then they add 5 Phoenix uniforms, which gives all 5 of those characters fire damage. Okay, sure, yes. So if you take away the last update, you minus 6 from that list, we drop from 22 down to whatever, 16. So yeah. 16 is a more manageable number, but it's still in stark contrast. 16 compared to 2 characters or 3 characters, I might be forgetting one, that deal poison damage. And the same goes for cold damage and lightning damage. It's not that much better. Lightning, I think, is the second highest, or might be mind damage is the second highest, but still, I don't even think any of them hit double digits, whereas we've been in double digits for fire damage forever. So I'm not complaining about the latest update, but I am complaining about whatever comes in the future. Netmarble needs to look at the other elements, especially poison and cold, because they're the most lagged behind, and they need to make serious changes. They need to give us cold damage leaderships. They need to give us poison damage leaderships, but more importantly, there's no point in giving us leaderships if you don't have characters that deal poison damage. Characters that deal cold damage need to be introduced into the game. There should be more balance. There's such an imbalance in Marvel Future Fight, and everywhere you look when it comes to characters, character builds, character stats, and now elemental types. There's just this crazy disparity. So they've got to try to bridge the gap. They've got to try to make it a little bit more fair and a little bit more even, because it can be kind of boring. You know, you're playing just with fire damage characters all the time. Like, it also makes the effects not as cool because you see them so often. You see this big fire, you know, every single time with every single character, and you're like, man, I'm just kind of getting bored of all this fire, you know. And so they're actually undercutting their own art staff and the people that work on the mocap for the characters and the people that work on the animations for the skills. They're undercutting their hard work by having too many characters with skills that end up looking the same when you think back on it, because it's all just flames and explosions and lava. And you know, if there's more diversification and if there's more diversity of animations in terms of different effects, like the water for Namor was so cool. Hydro Man, water, amazing. But we need poison. We need mind, more mind. Well, not that much mind, and lightning, but definitely, especially poison. A little bit more ice, cold kind of stuff. Bobby Drake, etc. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Namor cracking that ABX whip, and you know, the closer that we march towards every player in the top 100 being at the exact same identical score again. What's Netmarble gonna do about that? Let me know your thoughts, and then let me know your thoughts on the elemental disparity. Fire basically reigning over and being sort of the Lord Ozai of all the other elements. Subscribe if you enjoyed the content, hit the bell for notifications, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.